Hello and welcome to today's episode of Point to Point. It's the show where I drive from one point to another and try to get to the point. Today's point. What is today's point? I got a couple of thoughts. Let's talk about the the evolving economic conditions. I guess there's a couple of angles here. The first is, there's this whole thing about there being a new PlayStation Pro, which is probably just a new revision of the PlayStation Pro. Who knows? Maybe it is more money. Perhaps it is less for the same money. Which is, I guess, interesting. I think that you can kind of read into how much money and time is being spent into making the PlayStation and PlayStation Pro a bit more of an economical thing on the PlayStation end. I was listening to a podcast earlier today, and they were talking about how I think it was the head of Sony Interactive at Tokyo Game Show was basically doing a talk about how they're still making the money. The money is coming in. It is the most profitable. The PlayStation 5 is the most profitable console or something, which makes sense. It retails for almost twice as much as the PlayStation 4 did towards this time of the year. So not terribly surprising, I guess. It is also very interesting that is the case, and still got to raise them prices, huh? Feels weird. And, I guess that's fine. Like, you got to revise the thing. You got to make this isn't the first time they've done this month, I guess. I guess I can't remember when the different storage model came out, but it was very recent, I thought. Taking the 1 terabyte storage down to 825 gig, like the original model. Which is, again, like, it's just another storage is expensive. So you nip and tuck wherever you can to have, less operating costs, less material cost in your device, so that you can, keep those margins nice and healthy for them shareholders. And that's not surprising. That's business. And right now we can kind of complain about the tariffs and everything as a good way of doing it. A relevant part of discussion here is those tariffs, if you have been paying attention to the non-gamer news, have been struck down by a court. And basically, if that holds, that the tariffs from April 17th, or better known as Liberation Day, if that ruling holds, the tariffs that have been paid between Liberation Day and I think the ruling, that will have to be paid back to corporations, which is great, because guess what? Guess how all of this worked? That tariff cost, sure, maybe some of it was consumed by the actual corporation, but all these prices that have been going up, all the extra money that you've been paying out of pocket, like that money that has been passed on to you, that cost is now going to be returned to the corporation as a refund. So, again, prices go up because of uncertain economic times, because of, no one wants to say tariffs in case Dear Leader gets upset about it. That money is now, not only did the company profit from it from you, they are now receiving a refund also, which is just impeccable. Truly fantastic. Cannot believe that's where we're going to be. So when we talk about, these revisions for like cost savings and everything, like a lot of this is going into that too. Like, it is profitability. It is making sure that you get a worse product than you initially wanted, and you have to pay more money for it. The enshittification of physical hardware is here. Has been for a while, really. Which then kind of just brings me to the next point here, which is all within the same point, really. The whole Xbox nonsense. So I don't know if you've been paying attention. It's kind of hard to avoid at this point. Xbox is making a handheld, or Xbox is licensing out Xbox for a handheld. I think they were announced at not E3 this summer, at the good old Keeleys, but the much rumored Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X handhelds put out by the Roger company, I believe. Right? Yes, they are the Asus. The Asus Republic of Gamers Xbox Ally X, I believe, is the full Christian name of the device. And they announced the prices on a Friday, as all good things. Pretty sure that came out as part of TGS as well. But so the device names are out there. The cheaper one, it's not worth talking about. It's too expensive. The Ally X is 1,000 American dollars, which is fascinating. Mostly because we just saw a price raise on the Xbox Series consoles. They just went up again. And they are now, I think the like top tier, which is a funny thing to put in a log line, but like the Black Starlight Galaxy 2 terabyte model or whatever, the special edition Xbox that I think besides collectors nobody bought, is now $800. And so now they have an even more expensive device. I guess it's not technically theirs, but it is it is an Xbox device. This is an Xbox. It is very expensive. And so I think there's a lot of chatter about like, well, that's obviously ludicrous. They're literally pulling the Xbox hardware from Costco shelves because it's too expensive. You know, they have like all but admitted defeat in the sales war for this console generation. All of the cool stuff that was in those FCC filings forever ago for the Activision purchase is like either canceled or not happening. Like Keystone is gone, Brooklyn is gone, and instead Xbox has turned into a licensing arm that they have finally built a front end for Windows that works on a handheld, which is kind of the hidden cool thing about this handheld. And they announced it the same week that Steam has put the Steam Deck on sale for $320. And yes, the Steam Deck is, it is an older piece of hardware. I think it's still a 4-year-old revision at this point. The Ally X is like spec-wise probably significantly better, but also it still has a small screen. So like, how much more better can it be? Is it $700 better? I doubt it. And I think this is kind of the weird thing where you have a big kludgy corporation step in here and try to sell this device, but it kind of feels like Microsoft's heart's not in it anymore. And I don't know if that's true. I think they're just trying to get what they can out of it and have already moved on to next generation. Hopefully. I mean, I guess we'll see. But the economics of this are kind of confusing to me because we keep pushing the price higher and higher, and as I've mentioned on the show before, that is less and less people who will be able to play this thing. And there's also not really a clear push that, like, I'm paying $1,000 for a handheld Xbox. And I guess that's fine, but if you think about it the other way around, right? Like the Switch Lite is the cheap Switch. You know, you have the small one that's handheld only, and that's cheap. And I wonder, there's no cross strategy here to like have it so you can have have the handheld and then also have a dockable version of it, or like, you know, we're not talking about like here is the handheld and also here is a cable coming out of it to go to a television. So it's just kind of weird that, you know, the next Xbox is $200 more than the absolutely most expensive version of the X you could get, and then it's handheld and it's not made by Xbox, and I just don't get it. We kind of talked about like the weirdness of the PlayStation also having multiple revisions and versions and stuff that include a handheld, and it just seems really odd to me how kind of out of touch a lot of these companies are trying to make these devices, like both from a pricing point of view. Like I kind of would like to see someone try to make one of these for, you know, you can, I guess where I'm coming from here is that Steam Deck is setting the bar pretty low, right? At $300. Let's say, I think they normally go for $400 and they're on a deep sale right now. But okay, $400 for a 4-year-old piece of technology. You also have things like the Retroid Pocket. I think the Pocket is running around like $200, $250 right now. And those are obviously like, you can't throw a Proton on them, but you can connect them to Portmaster, and with a little bit of work, you can have some very low intensity indie games running on a Retroid Pocket. Like stuff like Stardew Valley, right? Like you can have your little Stardew Valley machine, but you can also have like newer stuff on there too. So you start to see this floor of like, okay, here's this handheld and it's at, you know, $200-ish with a little bit of work. And then you go to Steam Deck, which is like able to run like most of new release stuff at like low or medium quality, and now we're pushing $400. You can buy an Xbox for anywhere between $500 to $800, and you're getting, you know, depending on what you have, I guess I don't know how close the S is to the Steam Deck in like output power, but in my mind they're relatively close. And then you go all the way up to the X at, you know, $750 to $800, and like now you have a nice thing. And how much better is the ROG Ally X going to be to something like the Steam Deck or something like the Retroid Pocket? And is it, you know, when we talk about the Pocket, like is having access to Game Pass also a recurring subscription you are paying on top of the value of that device? Like, is that now 5 times better than what you could get out of just having the Retroid Pocket? Is it 4 times better, 3 times better than what you can get out of a Steam Deck? Is it twice as good as the, you know, lowest tier OLED Steam Deck? I mean, I really don't think so. And so I think we need to, like, these companies need to find ways to get people to buy these things. And when we talk about like uncertain economic times and like that's why prices are so high, you also have to kind of recognize that like that's why spending power is so low. So it's just generally a pretty confusing time to live in this economic strangeness. That's gonna do it for me today. I gotta head out and get to work, to my real job. But thanks for hanging out on me on this drive. I will catch you next time. Head to 70percentcomplete.com for all the fun stuff. No new articles right now, but I'm working on stuff. I've got a couple more projects that I'm working on. Finally wrapped up that avowed script that is going to be too long. I've got an Expedition 33 video in the process, and obviously more content coming out. this week. I think we put out a really good episode that I'm really happy with. I got the guys pretty good with some of the ideas, so I'm excited for y'all to hear that. But yeah, I'll catch you next time. Have a good rest of your day. See ya.